Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. If you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon, if you want to support this live stream via Super Chat, thank you to my Super Chat. Thank you so very much. I know there are a bunch of things you could spend, a bunch of different ways you could spend your money in this tough time, but if you want to support my voice, thank you very, very, very much. I want to just explain a couple key points to you before we get started. Hillary Clinton is going to be nominee. Eric H526, hello. Hello, Luke St. Martin, everybody. Hillary Clinton's going to be nominee. Now, I am telling you Clinton is going to be nominee for numerous reasons. The most important reason is the following. Biden now has raised $26.2 million. Biden has raised $26.2 million. All right, ladies and gentlemen, $26.2 million. $26.2 million he's raised. Well, at least there's cash. I should say that the cash on hand, which is the money that he has right now. Do you want to know how much money Clinton had? $182 million at this point. $182 million. Okay? She had raised $182 million at this point. And Biden only has $26 million in cash. That is probably one of the biggest reasons Clinton is going to be nominee, because she has access to hundreds of millions of dollars, and she spent $1.2 billion. Now, just hear me out for a second. Humor me. Try to think like a Democrat for 1 second. Try to think like the DNC. Forget about the fact that there was a secret agreement that Donna Brazile wrote about in Politico. Okay? Reputable source. Politico. Now, two things, and I voted for Jill Stein, okay, but two things. The election came down to 77,744 votes in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. 77,000 votes. Clinton received 65 million votes. She outspent Trump 2-1, which is why she received all those votes. Okay, it's not because she's a fantastic politician or that people, were enamored by Madam Secretary or her litany of controversies and scandals and overt criminal acts. But you got to think like a Democrat. Biden has $26.2 million in cash. Clinton has raised, at this point, $182 million. $160 million more she had at her disposal at this point. That was on her way to $1.2 billion, and she still lost the Electoral College. Biden has zero presence online. He is not going to be nominee, in addition to the fact that there was a criminal complaint against Biden, an actual criminal complaint for assault. So you have a difference of $160 million in terms of the money. This is CNN Politics, 182. At this point, on April 21st, 2016, so 6 days from now? April 21st, 2016, Hillary Clinton had $182 million, $182,242,497 raised. Biden has $26.2 million. The fact that he is the presumptive nominee or he's the only person left standing is completely irrelevant. Donna, hello. Donna, LOL, hello. Thank you. Thank you for watching from day one. Thank you. 70 ski! 70 ski! Still loving the content. Here's some of my stimulus. God bless you with Trump's big signature on it. 7D Ski. Thank you, 7D Ski. Thank you very, very, very much. Thank you very much. Greatly, greatly appreciated. 7D Ski. I want you to be here, please. In November, when Trump wins, I give him 80% chance to win over Clinton, who has a 20% chance in my book. But be here also, 7D Ski, everyone, when somehow, some way, Madam Secretary swoops in and becomes nominee. 7D Ski, thank you so much. I hope all is well. Hope all is well. Thank you. Thank you for always watching. Thank you again. Greatly appreciated. $182 million. And these are numbers I want you to remember, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm a Trump supporter. I have a great deal of respect for Jill Stein because she did fight the system. Now, I don't agree with a lot of her policies. I did agree with more of her policies prior to becoming more conservative on things. But I think that she's a fighter. Jill Stein is a fighter. Tulsi Gabbard is a fighter. President Trump is a fighter. Bernie Sanders is not a fighter. 7D Ski, thank you again. But hear me out for a second. The margin of victory. The margin of the Trump's victory margin in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, according to numerous articles, was smaller than here. So we can go ahead. Trump's margin of victory smaller than total Stein votes in key swing states. So I want to think. I'm not blaming. There's nothing. I think Trump is a great president, greatest president of my lifetime, and I can debate anyone on that. But nobody really on the left. I'm telling you, unless it's I'll debate anyone with with hundreds of thousands of subs online that Trump is the best president of my lifetime, or Trump is a great president. I would love to. Nobody would take that on because they know that I come from, if I'm debating somebody on the left, I know all their dirty little secrets. And I know all their immoral, possibly, well, in Clinton's case, overtly criminal. I know all of their shortcomings, inequities. I know their Achilles heel. So if they want to debate me, I would love to. And compare President Trump to President Obama. I would easily, in any debate, explain and prove to everybody why President Trump is a much better president than somebody who engaged in a failed NATO intervention that obliterated the country. Jimbo! AOC endorses Biden. Me too. Yeah, you're right, H. The DNC has broken them. Jimbo, thank you. 7D Ski, thank you. That is a great point, Jimbo. That is a great point. 7D Ski and Jimbo, thank you. You are 100% right. Now, AOC, if you notice, ladies and gentlemen, she abandoned ship. See, Bernie Sanders was a very bizarre vehicle for the left to just ram into another iceberg. They're very bizarre. AOC abandoned ship. Elizabeth Warren, started the mutiny on the bounty. Okay, between Warren and AOC, with friends like these, who needs enemies? I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, it's a matter of time before Clinton becomes nominee because the whole thing has been a charade. But that's a great point, Jimbo. Thank you. 7D Ski, thank you. And not only are they abandoning ship, and not only do you have these hilarious, Warren is open to being vice president. Who asked Warren? I mean, this public relations is overt. They should just have press releases. They shouldn't even have, these stories. Just come out with a press release and call it a day. But you look at the 77,000 She outspent Trump 2-1. 1.2 billion to 600 million. This is why they're never going to go with Biden. At this point right now, Clinton had 182 million and Biden has, what did I say, 26.2 million. So she had over 100, she had 120 million dollars more than him already. Junior locomotive. There are people that are pretty much a lost cause. The best advice you gave us was not to engage because it is not worth it. God bless you, Junior Locomotive. 100%. I am surrounded by really wonderful people, wonderful, great people that I've known in my life. Do not engage. Disengage. It's like, it's like in Star Wars when you see like the Empire, giant fleet, like, just go warp speed the other way. When I think warp speed is Star Trek. That was it. I forgot. But anyway, just anywhere you go with any family, friends, co-workers, spouse, anyone you meet from here until the election. When they say, how could you vote for Trump? How could you do this? How could you do this? Well, obviously, the answer is because I don't agree with. When they say, well, how could you vote for somebody as controversial as Trump? Well, obviously, I think that the primary reason he's controversial is because the media placed all their eggs in the same basket with Clinton, and they'll do the same thing again. How could you vote for somebody who worked with Russia? Well, obviously, he didn't work with Russia. He wasn't even. How could you vote for somebody who's such a criminal? Well, name a crime. He wasn't impeached on a crime. He wasn't impeached on any crimes. How could you vote for somebody who said both sides? That's because he never said that. He wasn't referring to tiki torch people. He wasn't referring to bigots. He was referring to conservatives who wanted to keep up statues, which by the way, they were protesting. The conservatives and also the really horrible people were protesting all throughout, that had nothing to do with each other, protested all throughout President Obama's administration. See, and then they say, well, you know what, how could you say it was somebody who admitted to assault? No, it was a hot mic. You have no evidence that he did anything. The only evidence that anyone has that anyone did anything is Biden with a criminal complaint. That's not necessarily evidence of something. Well, I mean, it's more. It's a greater example of evidence, because at least you would have to testify with a criminal complaint. So, Junior Locomotive, you're 100% right. 7D-ski. Jimbo, thank you. Every time and then you explain to them the big reason. Like, for example, the big reason I'm voting for President Trump is, in addition to the fact that he's going up against corrupt intelligence officials, and he got us out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and he got us out of NAFTA. And he is the first president to step foot in North Korea, to begin détente between North and South Korea. He has ended America's longest-running military conflict, which we would never have ended with Biden or Clinton. Biden would never be nominee, but I'm just saying, let's say, hypothetically, he's not going to be nominee, but I'm saying Biden, Clinton, Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, they're all the same people. Trump is not. Absolutely not. So that's why you're voting for Trump. If you tell anyone this, their eyes glaze over. They don't care. Don't be somebody who gets caught in a web of another person's psychosis, because it's almost a psychosis. It's almost to the point where they blank out and they just go off. They don't care. They don't want. It's not a truth-finding endeavor to discuss things with a person who has derangement issues pertaining to Trump. So, Junior Locomotive, thank you so very much. 7D-ski, thank you. Jimbo, thank you. But 77,000. She won by. You got to think of things in terms of the way Democrats think. They can't simply say we're going to nominate Clinton, because then there would be an initial revolt. So they slowly break the will and the spirit of Democratic voters. They get them even more maniacal and frenzied and hysterical against Trump. They twist and they hide and sweep every controversy. Like, for example, I don't know, Andrew Cuomo on March 1st was saying, there's no reason for undue anxiety. The general risk remains low in New York. New York leads countries now in terms of lives lost. And you can blame Andrew Cuomo. Blame him. Don't blame Trump. First they say, well, Trump has no authority over governors. So what was he supposed to do? Force Andrew Cuomo to accept ventilators? It's not his job to govern states. That's what they've been saying. Oh my God, he said he had authority. And they get him on sound bites too. They poke and they prod at Trump. They know Trump has a certain type of personality that's confrontational. And they try to confront and poke, and then they get the soundbite they want. They did that with the both sides thing. He wasn't saying that there were good people who were horrible, bigoted, racist, tiki torch people. He wasn't saying that. And nor did he need to say that. There's no voting base like that. You don't suddenly get horrible people that voted for President Obama twice and voted for Clinton twice. The people of Wisconsin voted for Bill Clinton and President Obama in 4 total elections. And they voted for John Kerry. And they voted for Gore. And it wasn't just Wisconsin. It was Michigan and Pennsylvania as well. And and that's why I say President Trump, God forbid, could possibly lose the election to Clinton. Clinton could possibly win. I give her a 20% chance of winning. They're not going with Biden because the same way they cheated Bernie Sanders, the same way they lied to their voters, the same way they're the ones who pushed voters in Wisconsin. They could have canceled the primary. The same way they did that. Is that they'll do the same thing with Clinton getting the nomination. Who knows how? But it ain't gonna be Biden. But Jill Stein received 50,000 here. So you look right here, and if you want to read, so Trump's victory margin is smaller than total Stein votes in key swing states. So the reason I bring up this is because you have to think like a Democrat. The Democratic Party, ladies and gentlemen, the Democratic Party is not JDM's World 14. Thank you. Todd Rubel. Todd. Well, there's a criminal complaint. And my God, the duplicity, Todd and everybody, the duplicity, the disingenuous nature of the Democratic Party is unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable. Look at these Hollywood celebrities. We're supposed to listen to these people. What are Hollywood celebrities? I find it, you know what's interesting? When they lose again, this election is going to be the biggest election of our lifetime, ladies and gentlemen. When they lose again, they won't be able to save face because they won't have corrupt intelligence officials covering for them and making up a fantasy. They won't be able to. They have this fantasy. They're still going on. Oh, look at all these indicted people. Yeah, you got people who were caught up in a sprawling, completely immoral investigation where they indicted people on one thing that they didn't remember pertaining to an investigation on something that none of them committed, or pertaining to an investigation of allegations that none of them committed, or none of them had anything to do with the allegations that they were being investigated on. So it's like it's not sustainable. The world they're living in is not sustainable. And it's not sustainable because people generally have had enough. They've had enough of the media spin. They see what's going on. I mean, now the media is in overdrive, and Trump is taking a hit in terms of his ratings, his poll numbers. But you know what? I mean, compared to the fact that he still had record high poll numbers like 3-4 weeks ago, you have to understand there's 17 million people unemployed. Obviously, anyone would take a hit in terms of their ratings. But the media is like, this is all Trump's fault. It's all Trump's fault. 7 of the top 8 and 8 of the top 9 states up until the other day that have the biggest problems or cases and lives lost in terms of this crisis are run by Democratic governors. But here, I just want to read you this really quickly. You got to think like a Democrat. In Michigan, Trump defeated Clinton by 10,700 votes. That's nothing, ladies and gentlemen. That's nothing. While Stein got 51,463 votes. In Wisconsin, Trump's margin of victory over Clinton was 22,177 votes. Stein got 31,000 votes. Okay. In Pennsylvania, meanwhile, Stein's total was 49,485 votes, was slightly smaller than Trump's margin of victory of 67,416 votes. Okay. Now, did Jill Stein swing the election? Probably not, but possibly. When you look at this, possibly, which is great. I think that the Green Party. I think that if you're going to pretend like Bernie Sanders and you're going to say, oh, I stand for this, I stand for that, oh, Biden, then you should have a viable Green Party. If you're on the left, and I'm not saying this because I voted Jill Stein when I was on the left, and I had a lot of respect for the Green Party in terms of their ability to fight. You have all these people who are like these self-described progressive pundits, and they have hundreds of thousands of subs, and they align themselves with places that get $20 million in venture capital funding, and then they're like, and sometimes you hear, oh, I'm not voting for Biden. Well, that's not a very courageous move, because Biden is absolutely horrendous. Let's see how many of these people don't vote for Clinton. I want to see the Never Biden people, and I want to see how many Never Biden pundits vote for Clinton. I'll be watching. Oh, I'll be watching. I'll definitely be watching, because they went after me. They went after me, and I didn't care, but, I took heat for not voting for Clinton. I'm like, I'll never vote for Clinton. I wrote articles in Salon. People don't read Salon today, and this is not something to be, like, I find this very bizarre. People don't read, there are people who say, I don't read Salon because they published H.A. Goodman. It's like, everything I was saying was right. Clinton was going to lose, and she lost. NPR quoted me. But anyway, when I said that Clinton wouldn't win swing states, and 538 said that Trump wouldn't be GOP nominee. But here in Pennsylvania, meanwhile, Stein's total. So Jill Stein got, so you're not going to, you probably won't have a Green Party. Cool Blue 71. I am a progressive, and I recognize it's better to have Trump reelected than a corporate Democrat, Biden, Hillary, whoever flipped the presidency. Thank you, Cool Blue 71. Absolutely. I agree with you, Cool Blue 71. I no longer, consider myself that word, but, I agree with you 100%. 100%, because in terms of foreign policy, they don't care. It's almost like Democrats don't understand, or people that have issues with President Trump, like real issues, they don't see why anyone would vote for Trump. They don't understand. They don't understand, and they don't want to understand. That's also the issue. They don't want to understand. They don't want to understand. It's one thing if they just can't comprehend why you're voting for President Trump. But it's another thing if they just don't want to hear about it and they just want to condemn you and judge you. It's like, and furthermore, it's like, you know what? There are very few people in this life where I actually care about what they think of me. And in life, if somebody you don't know, or if somebody that you do care about, but not necessarily focus on their opinion of you, if somebody wants to judge and condemn or demean or pass judgment on you, it's like, A, do they have the authority or the right to do so? Almost certainly it'll be no. So I mean, it's almost like this is a psychological. It's a psychological reaction. When they find out you're voting for President Trump, whether you're progressive or conservative or independent or somebody with, no party affiliation, they say, how could you? How could you? How could you vote for somebody who, and then fill in the blank, worked with Russia, had the hot mic, said both sides? Because all of those things were fantasies of the Democratic Party. The mythology around President Trump is not the accurate depiction of President Trump. It's a caricature. They've created this mythology around Trump. This bizarre Trump is like this nightmare for them. And they're not going to go. The other nightmare actually is losing with Clinton again. But if you want to use the Overton window phrase, the Overton window of what's acceptable now is, you know what? If Biden isn't hacking it, then let's just find somebody else. And if that person is Clinton, deal with it. That's what they'll say. You know what? If that person is Clinton, just deal with it. I'll get to Elizabeth Warren in a second, but Cool Blue 71, thank you as always for watching. Junior Locomotive, thank you. Jimbo, thank you. Seven D-Ski, thank you again. But exactly, these bees aren't. They're TDS. There is no cure. There is no cure. But the interesting thing is, ladies and gentlemen, why am I bringing up the margin of victory of President Trump in three key states? The reason I'm bringing that up is because there is no, I could be wrong, but the Green Party is not as popular or is not as, won't gain as many votes as they did in 2016. Then you have, you have the Democrats, they blamed Russia. It doesn't make any sense, and it's such a fantasy. It's so absurd. Then they found nothing, so they say Trump's a criminal, but they couldn't impeach him on any crime. You don't think there are legal statutes? If Clinton were president, you don't think there are numerous legal statutes you could impeach Clinton on? Of course. Just on the public record alone, according to Rudy Giuliani, who was a prosecutor his whole life. Of course. But they couldn't even find a legal statute. Stormy? No legal statute there. Working with Russia? Nope. Obstructing justice? Nope. You give withholding $400 million. Anyone who told you that is a tool. Anyone who said, he withheld military assistance to go after Biden. No, Biden deserved to be investigated. The simplest answer to every propaganda spin is just call it out the way you see it. Yeah, Trump didn't work with Russia. They set him up and framed him. And furthermore, that's not even national security. No, Trump withheld military assistance because it's a corrupt country, which is exactly why, which is exactly the reasoning of Biden when he fired a prosecutor. The difference being that prosecutor happened to be looking into the corporation giving Hunter about $3.4 million by one estimate. So you have a different scenario, ladies and gentlemen. I will have made the biggest political call of all time. It is the biggest political. I give Clinton a lot of credit for the deception. The deception. The illusion. You could put David Blaine and David Copperfield and Houdini and every magician, Chris Angel, Penn and Teller, you could put every magician, in front of you, and they still wouldn't be. They still wouldn't have the deception or the illusion. There still wouldn't be as much of an illusion as there is now in the Democratic Party, or they still wouldn't be able to have to have been duped in such a way. I don't want to say duped with magic because, people generally, enjoy it. But but you know what? It's interesting because everyone, or I should say nobody, sees what's going on. They're all like, well, it is what it is. Cool Blue 71! Last two losing Democratic nominees, 2004 Kerry, 2016 Hillary, voted for Iraq. Yep. Dems want to make it 3 losers in a row with 2020 Biden. No one who voted for Iraq add to oh, that's right. That's right. Was elected POTUS. That's right. Cool Blue 71. That's right. And my prediction is Clinton again. And and they'll go exactly. That is going to be a cloud that hangs over. That's a great observation. If you voted for that never-ending conflict, and that's why, like, when people are like, well, the climate change affects the world. Yeah, but it affects. There's no way to quantify it within the short term and link it to something that all countries are doing at one time. There is a way to quantify and to define the chaos and mayhem and the tragedy of foreign policy that influences the lives of millions upon millions of people instantly. When you engage in never-ending conflict, the lives are influenced instantly. Ask the people of Libya from the moment of the failed NATO intervention until today. Were they better off after President Obama's intervention, NATO intervention? They say the way NATO works. Don't get me started. NATO is a Cold War relic. You don't need NATO to let's say there's a common threat. I can't even name the organizations. You wouldn't even need NATO. Every country has their own military budgets, their own generals. You could coordinate. NATO. You don't need NATO. It's a Cold War relic. It was created to go to go against the Warsaw Pact. There's no reason for NATO to exist now, other than to say, well, a whole bunch of countries agreed with our foreign policy, so it's a NATO intervention. You don't need that. But it's a way for people like President Obama to say, well, it wasn't me, it was NATO. It's like, no, that was your decision. That was your foreign policy that did not work out. Cool Blue 71, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. But now they say, well, Elizabeth Warren, you have all these like public relations. Elizabeth Warren said that she would accept the nomination. She would accept being Biden's vice president. Look, under the cover of the current crisis, they've completely consolidated power. They've consolidated influence. It's not that difficult to see. It's not that difficult to see. And when Clinton becomes nominee, everyone will be like, oh my God, nobody knew, but she came back. Think of just the amazing way they're going to spin it as this just phenomenal comeback story. What a phenomenal comeback story. I mean, really, it's just going to be the best. It will be the best comeback story you could ever imagine. Think about it. And who is saying, and I thank you for dealing with me continuously saying this, but who is saying that Clinton is going to be nominee now? Nobody. Because nobody can see it, because they can't imagine it, because, oh my goodness, how could this be? How could they possibly get it done? How could they possibly get Clinton to be nominee when the process has already taken place? Because the process is fluid. The Democratic primary is they already stated, the DNC lawyers in the DNC fraud lawsuit waged by Jared Beck, Elizabeth Beck, and Nico House already stated, ladies and gentlemen, that they could pick their nominee in smoke-filled back rooms. By the way, you know what? When I looked at my demographics of the people who watch, I have a lot of people in Canada. So thank you to the Canadian people who are watching, to the Canadians. A lot of people from the UK, Australia, and the Netherlands also. So if you are watching in another country, please, please, please tell your friends. And tell your friends to subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel too, because it actually helps. The way YouTube works is that, like, I have around 90% of people who watch from the United States, but I have the rest, about 10%, around 10% or so, in other countries: Canada, UK, Australia, Netherlands, other countries as well. So please tell your friends. Tell everybody you know to watch this channel and H.A. Goodman's other channel. It's kind of interesting, too. 75% of my audience is male and 25% female. It's interesting, too. And the demographics are mostly over 40. So mostly over 40, which is great. Fantastic. Jimbo! We really failed NATO intervention. They overthrew and grabbed the weapons. Preferred side. Yeah, I mean that's you know what, Jimbo, you're right. There are many ways to look at it. The consequence, though, I mean, everyone can agree on the consequence, which was it was a failure just in terms of what we claimed our foreign policy to be. But Jimbo, great point, as always, Jimbo, great point. Loud citizen, loud citizen. But Luke St. Martin, yes. When you look at the way that they market Elizabeth Warren, when Elizabeth Warren becomes, let's say she becomes vice president, because it's almost certain that she will. Who knows? It'll be so fantastic, because they'll be like, oh my God, this is an olive branch to the progressives. And meanwhile, you're talking about a politician. Well, you know what's interesting? In a way, I hate to sound like this, Bernie got exactly what he deserved for being as duplicitous as he is. This guy says, don't use the word political revolution when you're funneling votes back into the same system. He talked about the power structure and the 1%. Bernie Sanders is the 1%. If he wasn't the 1%, he wouldn't have funneled votes into the Democratic Party. He is the 1%. If you're a tool of the same people you claim to fight, how are you not part of that power structure? Okay? I don't vote for Trump because I think he's, in many ways, he actually is a far greater example of somebody upending the apple cart than Bernie Sanders. Far greater. But even, there's no political revolution with President Trump, maybe more so than Bernie. I'm voting for Trump because he changes the paradigm. So in that case, in that case, if he changes the paradigm of foreign policy forever, hopefully for a long time, they don't care. Democrats don't care about foreign policy. They don't care. They don't care at all. Their foreign policy consists of Facebook ads, stopping Facebook ads. Loud Citizen. Hello, Loud Citizen. Cool Blue 71. Chris Christie is a guest on Stephen Colbert's program Nailed It February when he said Elizabeth Warren is in no man's land. Democratic faction don't want her. Well, this is the thing. Cool Blue 71. This is the thing. Let's just say if Warren is let's just say use the word progressive. Warren is a progressive who overtly worked for the establishment of the Democratic Party. Bernie is a progressive who surreptitiously, I think overtly, but surreptitiously works for the Democratic establishment. Then there's the question of what is it that they believe? How do they label themselves if they're only voting for Biden in the end? And then Biden's eventually going to pass the baton to Clinton. Where are the labels here? So where are the labels here? You know, I don't want to be any label. That's why I don't say like any more that I'm a label. I think that was the biggest problem I had when I was on the left is trying to adhere to what I thought a progressive was, which apparently it definitely is not. The thing that drives me is foreign policy. I would much rather have President Trump's foreign policy than Democrats or establishment Republicans. But, I mean, you're right. The left really doesn't like Elizabeth Warren, but in the same way they don't like Biden. But there's like a whole bunch of people in the middle who view Warren to be just, risque enough to be, but acceptable or palatable. So like, well, she's way to the left, but she's palatable. We can work with Warren. We can't work with Bernie. We can't work with anyone else. So that's the kind of charade that's going on. Fun Overlord X. Is Trump going to lose to Biden? I think that President Trump will defeat Clinton, but I think that he could lose to Clinton. I think that Hillary Clinton could become president. She's the only chance they have. Plus, you have Warren lying on a Texas state bar. But then, I mean, their mentality, they're so, their minds are so warped with the whole both sides thing, and Trump is a nationalist, all these things. They make up these euphemisms, then slap them on President Trump and say, well, Trump embodies this. And the way they work, they play this, very amusing semantic game. They utilize euphemisms because they can't find anything specific that he's done. He didn't write a check to Russian hackers. He had nothing to do with the Tiki Torch people. The whole thing was stormy. You had to prove that it was just for the election and not for not that he just didn't want other people to know within his family or whatever. So that obviously it was a transaction. It was a business transaction. So it wasn't a campaign finance violation. And then if you want to talk about campaign finance violations, there's AOC. And by the way, there's Clinton. The Steele dossier is a campaign finance violation. I wrote about this in the Daily Caller. Adam, hello. But you have a situation where, ladies and gentlemen, it's almost brilliant. It's like you take the best illusionist, the best magician on the planet. They're nothing compared to Clinton. Clinton is going to find some way, and when she does, it will vindicate my voice 1,000,000 times, 1,000,000-fold. But it'll vindicate you as well, because it'll be the best thing for the country. We'll finally see, just like when Tulsi Gabbard said, "Come out of the shadows." She said, come out, just come out of the shadows. We'll finally see. We will finally see. What is she saying to Clinton? What does she say? It was pretty awesome. It was just epic. It was something I would have written if I was still on Twitter. By the way, I am not on Twitter. I do not have a Twitter account. If you see anyone impersonating me, please report them on Twitter. Please, thank you. She basically stated, pull the curtains aside and show yourself. Okay, Tulsi tweet Clinton. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. Great, thank you, Hillary Clinton. You, queen of embodiment of corruption and personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party for so long, have finally come out from behind the curtain. From the day I announced my candidacy, there has been a concerted campaign to destroy my reputation. We wondered who was behind it and why. Now we know it was you, through your proxies and powerful allies in the corporate media and war machine, afraid of the threat I pose. It's now clear that this primary is between you and me. Don't cowardly hide behind your proxies. Join the race directly. Yeah. Hello. Then you have President Trump saying, I know why President Obama hasn't endorsed Biden. Then, of course, 4 days later, President Obama endorses Biden because he was kind of... in a way, he had to after President Trump's statement. He had to. And then, interesting, they have the double standard. They have no value system. When it was McCain, they're like, oh, my God, he's a war veteran. How can Trump go after him? Clinton called a war veteran in Tulsi Gabbard a Russian operative. I mean, how do you... First of all, they're the ones who presided over 20% of uranium capacity. If anyone is friendly with Putin, it was the Democrats, not Trump. Or Trump more so, Clinton and the Democratic Party more so, infinitely more so than Trump. The thing is, I think they're probably going to pick Elizabeth Warren because they're going to pick a woman. It'll be two women. It'll be Hillary Clinton and a woman because the whole Tim Kaine thing didn't work out too well. The Tim Kaine thing did not work out too well. And then, of course, when you have Clinton accusing Tulsi Gabbard of being a Russian operative, the way the media touches it, oh my God, what is the feud between Tulsi Gabbard and Hillary Clinton? There is no feud. One person disparaged and engaged in just spreading gossip and libelous accusations or defamatory accusations against Tulsi Gabbard. And Tulsi fought back. So, but that's the way the Clinton machine works. That's the way the Democratic Party works. When, who knows how Biden, passes the baton? He probably either picks Warren or somebody else. At this point, it looks like Elizabeth Warren is going to be the vice president. And then, once you have party unity, you have party unity, you have a vice president, You have people truly believing that Biden will be nominee. Then either before or at the convention, someone goes skinny dipping in the reflecting pool. And, it's Biden. He's, hey, man, come on now, man. I'm a young, hip man. Come on. I'm putting lotion, everyone. Lotion. Come on now. Who hasn't done the skinny dip? And everyone will be mortified and petrified that they have to roll with this guy. He has $26 million, 100 compared to $182 million with Clinton. Or it could be, Murray J, hello. It could be, I tore my ACL, coach. What do we do? Put in Rodham. Batting about 268 with 13 errors, no power at all. Yep. Let's do it. Let's put in the shortstop with 16 errors in 2 games. Let's do that. What could go wrong? The really hilarious thing is that if they go with Warren will come with her own skeletons and baggage, which I find very bizarre why they would go with Warren. Maybe they want President Trump to call her by that name, so then they can say, you see, but that'll backfire too. That won't work either. Because you have a person in Warren who actually did engage in completely unethical behavior. So, Angela Goodwin! I'm rolling on the floor about Biden and Warren. In my head, I hear the folks referring the couple at the end of the shtetl. Michigan, Osman, and Madel. Angela Goodwin at the end of the shtetl. Okay, Angela, thank you. Thank you, Angela. Angela Goodwin, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. One of the most intelligent people here, Angela Goodwin. Thank you. And Jimbo, did Madam Secretary ever get served with Tulsi's? I believe so. I believe they found a way. I do believe so. Jimbo, thank you. I do believe so. I think so. Pete Solano, HA. We have to hear her. HRC, why aren't I 50 points again? Pete Solano. Why aren't I 50 points ahead? You might ask. The best part, Pete Solano, the best part was not the 50 points. It's you might ask. It was the end of it. It's like, no, nobody asked that. Well, maybe some people did, but Pete, thank you. Jimbo, thank you. Angela, thank you. Loud Citizen! H, thank you again, Loud Citizen. H, on a serious note, Americans will never embrace Warren. She has an cold, socially awkward. Even with her husband or a bitter. Loud Citizen, but does she have a better personality than Amy Klobuchar? Does she have more charisma than Amy Klobuchar? Does she have more charisma than Clinton? I'm not talking about. Warren's personality is not my cup of tea, and I see what you're saying 100%. There is but see, we understand the game that Warren has played. Most people don't see the game that she's played. Most people don't know that she utilized false information on the Texas bar application or ID card. But Loud Citizen, that's a good point. But it's, honey, may I have a beer? The beer over there that I specifically put that beer. Yeah. I know that I don't drink beer. I'm trying to pretend that I'm normal. Just like when Beto O'Rourke, Loud Citizen, everybody, when Beto O'Rourke was cooking hamburgers and he tried to put the hamburger on an English muffin, it's fine, What was it on an English muffin? Which is fine. I'm not against that, but it's it's just like so unnatural. Like why would I want? They cheated Bernie Sanders They cheated him and took all his money and gave it to the DNC. I don't care how many hamburgers they make. Do you understand? I don't care. It's really beyond now, like hamburger making and all this. Like it's not. Who cares? You know. But yeah, I mean, there is a bizarre. There's definitely a bizarre element. Definitely a bizarre element. No, it's not an obsession. It's just a reality. No. The obsession. Anyone who has an obsession pertaining to Clinton, generally are the people who think that she would never run because nobody could be that megalomaniacal. That's the obsessive, thing. Loud citizen. Liz makes Hillary look natural. Ideal running mate. That could be the case. That's true. Loud citizen. Thank you. Loud citizen. Thank you again. Loud citizen. Thank you. The notion that Clinton would not run, everything in politics today should be seen through the lens of the people who run the Democratic Party. You had the Russia probe, you had the Steele dossier that started everything, you had Alexander Downer linked to the Clinton Foundation. I wrote about this and Rush Limbaugh shared the article in the Federalist. Every element from Alexander Downer, who was linked to the Clinton Foundation, to the Steele dossier purchased by Clinton, to Andrew McCabe of the FBI, whose wife received hundreds of thousands of dollars from Terry McAuliffe and Democratic PACs. And Terry McAuliffe is one of the biggest Clinton loyalists on the planet. To the fact that you have FBI agents saying Clinton needs to win 1,000,000-0. That's Peter Strzok. And will stop Trump. Everything needs to be seen through the lenses of Madam Secretary and Baba Bell. I think the obsession is with people who just think that this is all normal. This is just politics, and that they have no influence. Why do you think Tulsi Gabbard said come out of the shadows? Because Tulsi Gabbard and President Trump, when he said, I know a secret that you don't, he's not, even if President Obama eventually endorsed Biden, that was very likely because of what Trump said. The secret that Trump is talking about is the fact that Clinton is going to be nominee, that she will lose twice again. She could possibly win. That's what I keep saying. She could possibly win. Loud citizen, thank you. Will Aguilar. Biden plus dog face ponies. Nice take it. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting. Once we get this, when Biden becomes, or let's say Warren becomes Biden's nominee, I'm wondering how long it'll take for Hillary to then either take the baton from Biden, because my question is, I wonder how long it would take. Could be that they'll wait until the convention, or it could be that, who knows? Who knows what could happen? He's already has a criminal complaint. He was always a placeholder, and I told everyone this in 2017. It will be the biggest political call of all time, and everyone will be caught off guard. And nobody will see. I know it sounds like I'm like, and the Martians, I'm telling you, the Martians, they had big giant eyes. Yeah, and I know it sounds like I'm one fry short of a Happy Meal, kind of like Biden. But I know what time it is, and I know what's going on. I know the real deal. The real deal Holyfield. And it ain't going to be what you see right now, ladies and gentlemen. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. Look, Biden has $26 million at this point. Clinton had $182 million. They're not going to roll with Biden. He wouldn't even win the popular vote. He told coal miners to learn the code. Okay? Biden. He's not going to win Pennsylvania. Biden, coal miners learn to code. Okay. Biden tells coal workers to learn to code for future jobs. Okay, that ain't going to work. He just lost Pennsylvania. That's the equivalent of what Bernie said about Castro, Fidel Castro in Florida. They wouldn't even get the popular vote. The only reason people voted for Biden in the Democratic primaries, his name was not Trump. That's it. That's it. President Trump, President Trump would obliterate Biden. It wouldn't even be fair. It wouldn't be fair. At least with Clinton, Clinton definitely holds her own against Trump. It's kind of like, the immovable object versus the irresistible force. You can the only person who could go toe-to-toe with Trump is Hillary Clinton. That's the only person who possibly could. She'd still lose. But every debate, oh my God. Biden in a debate, what do you, hey, Trump, come on now. You know the deal, endowed by the creator, what? You know the deal. Hey, come on, you have to make the cure worse than the problem. Biden's coal miner comments are insulting. Okay, so you're done. The coal miner comment alone. Then you got the, cornflakes and grape nuts. Then you got, okay. There's an endless stream of reasons. There's an endless stream of reasons why. Why Biden could never get close. They wouldn't even win the popular vote. The presidential election is different than a primary, Democratic primary, okay? It's different than a Democratic primary. The Democratic primary that was a facade to begin with. I have no clue why, but it started off with an app that didn't work, coincidentally. When Biden hands the baton to Madam Secretary, when Biden hands the baton to Hilsey-Bub, it's going to be accepted because the Democrats are fantastic. They're professionals at breaking the spirit and the willpower of their voters. Once if you were starving. This is a metaphor analogy, and this is the analogy of Democratic voters. Okay, you're starving. You are absolutely starving, and if you don't get some kind of sustenance or nutrition, it's game over. So then you go into this restaurant, and you're starving. They're like, oh my God, you're going to get the filet mignon. Really? Yes, you could have the filet mignon. Okay, thank you. Then 5 minutes later, we don't have the filet mignon, but we have a really nice rice, pilaf, and it's going to be fantastic. You'll have the rice pilaf, and you'll have, some fish. Okay, anything. 5 minutes later, we don't have that. We have a nice soup with French onion soup. You'll love it. Okay, fine. Then 5 minutes later, hey, don't have the French onion soup, You're going to have a nice little salad. With some croutons. Okay. Then 5 minutes later, what can we have something, some bread? You know what? We're going to give you some nice bread. We don't have any other food, but we'll give you nice bread. You'll love it. You'll love the bread. Okay, fine. And then at the end, the person starving is that's the Democratic voter. So they started off, and then at the end of the day, you know what? We're not going to give you anything. Okay, So at the end, we're going to give you Clinton. We'll give you Madam Secretary and Warren on a platter. Okay, fine. Fine, anything. I don't. We came in with the filet mignon at the end. It was just Madam Secretary. Whatever. Fine, give me something. I'm about to go. So, anyway, you know the deal. You know the deal. And you know the deal. Okay? You know that. And you get, exactly. At the end, you get, that's the old joke. If that's not beef jerky, then what the heck am I eating? So, at the end, you get, here, we have some beef jerky for you. But if that's not beef jerky, what the heck am I eating? So, at the end, and so, that's the Democratic voter. The Democratic voter is, they will accept anything because they've been completely beaten down. Cool Blue 71! Exactly. Democratic Party is a sham. Big time. Big time. Oh, my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. No soup for you. Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. To my super chat, thank you so very, very much, everyone. God bless. I will be back. I'll have a segment on H.A. Goodman's other channel a bit later. And definitely subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening. It's been wonderful. Whatever happens, Biden picks a nominee. Biden picks a vice president. It's going to be Clinton's vice president eventually. Madam Secretary knows what's up. When it happens, it's going to be the biggest political call of all time, ladies and gentlemen. The biggest political call of all time. Give me your thoughts. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you soon.